The world chess champion Magnus Charlsen would face off against a rising young talent Pranav V in blitz, a high-speed, high-press format of chess. The match was quite complex and would see the world champion slowly get the feeling that he is going to lose, and this is how he reacts. After all, his first words during the match were, "It's not going to be easy." Pranav would have the white pieces here. The match begins with the move e4, the most popular move. Magnus plays e5. Pranav plays knight to f3, developing his knight and controlling the center, and Magnus defends his pawn playing knight to c6. Pranav plays the move bishop to b5. We have the Ruy Lopez opening here, an opening which offers for sharp lines and tactical plays, as we would see soon. Magnus plays the move a6 to move the bishop away, and the match continues to follow theoretical lines. After the 12th move, both sides seem to have finished their development, with both kings castled on the king's side. Now Pranav decides to do what he loves the most: attack. He begins to break down the closed position in the center by playing d4, offering up a pawn. Magnus takes the pawn, which was recaptured by Pranav with his knight. Magnus decides to fianchetto his light-squared bishop, adding up more pressure to the pawn on e4. Pranav decides to play something tricky right here, playing knight to f6. This move opens up a lot of tactics for Pranav, and Magnus has to be really careful before doing anything here. And Magnus, being the champion, played the best move. Knight to e5, preventing Pranav queen from moving to the g4 square, while at the same time opening up the diagonal for his light-squared bishop. Pranav decides to step back from attacking for a move and plays f3 to reinforce his center, considering the pressure Magnus is putting in the center. But the defensive move was not really the best move for defense, as Magnus would respond with another amazing move, c5. The idea about c5 is to follow up with c4, completely locking out Pranav's light-squared bishop for the rest of the game. With the bishop roughed up into a corner and a solid position, we could be seeing another Magnus masterclass here. Now Magnus realizes that it's time to break the center as he plays d5. But Pranav had other plans. He decides to launch a counterattack, playing the move f4, threatening to win the well-placed knight at e5, which Magnus moved to safety. Pranav continued his attack by pushing his e-pawn, further threatening the knight on the f6 square. Was this a desperate attack from Pranav or a well-calculated one? To the eyes of the computer, this is actually a winning position for Magnus, but for that, Magnus has to find the right move. With the fast-paced nature of the game, you are always prone towards making more blunders. The right move here is actually a pawn sacrifice, playing d4. Magnus is not a player who is averse to sacrifices. He has even sacrificed his queen, even in an opening, to win a game in Meltwater CCT finals. Magnus goes into deep thought for some time, and plays the move knight to e4, which seems pretty normal, but it completely comprises the winning position. The positions are now equal, but Pranav has seen some sneaky tactics in the game, and Pranav plays the move queen to d4. Now Magnus, instead of defending, he brings his queen to d2, threatening to win either the f-pawn or the c-pawn. Pranav made a choice to which pawn he wants as he plays bishop e3, threatening the queen. Magnus happily takes the pawn on c4. Pranav threatens the queen, but now with his rook playing rook to e2. Now the queen is forced to move to a4, far from all the action that's about to happen. Had Magnus moved his queen to d3, then rook t2 would have completely trapped the queen. Pranav plays the move rook to f1, getting all his pieces ready to go for a full-blown attack. Magnus plays the move d8. Pranav begins the attack with a knight sacrifice. He then pushes the pawn up, threatening to win the pinned knight. Magnus responds by creating his own pin on the queen by playing bishop to c8. Pranav pushes forward, playing e6, but Magnus ignores the pawn and plays rook d1. Magnus realizes that he completely missed Pranav's next move, and it was at this moment he knew that he lost the game. After the pawns exchange on the f7 square, Magnus gives out a long sigh. Pranav takes the knight on g6 and checks Magnus's king. Magnus was checked by Pranav's dark-squared bishop for the next two moves. Pranav then plays the move b3, threatening the queen and perhaps freeing up his trapped bishop. Magnus and Pranav traded rooks, and Magnus blunders by playing pawn takes b3, and this was the final nail in the coffin, as Pranav has a mate in 3, which he begins with rook to d2 check. Magnus would respectfully resign and acknowledge that he actually got crushed by the young lad, and has nothing more to say. Do you think Pranav has what it takes to become one of the best in chess? Do you carry on with the games that you have lost? Let us know in the comments below.